What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop. We are here celebrating Liverpool's 1-0 victory over Wolves at Wolverhampton. As always, we're your hosts, Steve and Wahomie. Wahomie, we are on, for the first time in a long time, we are on the verge of a winning streak. That's 2 in a row. One more would make it a winning streak. We'll take the 3 points, but overall, better performance, but still not 100% there. Before we really jump into it, everyone who's tuning in, we appreciate you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. And also just want to give a well wishes to Patricio. That was a nasty looking head injury. Hopefully he's going to be okay. It's never good when you see anyone get a head injury like that, and just another bad injury for Wolves. I hope he's going to be okay. It looked like he was able to communicate with the medical staff, but our well wishes to him and to the Wolves team going forward. But let's get into it. I mean, I think massive 3 points needed for Liverpool, but still, I think a lot of areas that we can still improve upon.
Yeah, obviously, it's good to get the win, but I'm not going to be, obviously I've seen some Reds jumping over the moon tonight, and I'm not on that because I still think, there was a lot in that game where I think I think a different night. If we were playing a better forward line that's got pace up top, we get punished tonight. Because I think Wolves overall we deserve the win, but I think there was enough in there for Wolves to have potentially snatched the draw, in there, because I think the Silva had that chance right at the end where we headed it straight at Alisson. If that's Lewandowski or Haaland, they do better with that chance and probably score. So, but overall, like I said, I tweeted earlier that we didn't play the best football tonight, but we got the win. And I felt obviously there was areas, obviously, I think in the first half where we weren't over most of the game, we weren't really controlling the game. I felt there were times when Wolves were having that bit rub the green where Moutinho was getting a lot of joy, and Neves in terms of opening us up. So I didn't think that the midfield overall was it wasn't how we were against Leipzig. I didn't think he was like how he was against Leipzig. He wasn't breaking up play and dominant possession as he did against Leipzig. So I think we lacked some of that intensity today. Maybe play the same game, play the same starting lineup again. And also I felt, while I could see, Kabak and Phillips did play well, but there was still enough there where I thought there were times when a better final ball by Wolves or better decision making, and they're in with their pace. I thought overall Wolves were a bit poor in attack, and I think we benefit from that. Because I thought even that first one when Alisson made a save, I think he chose the wrong post shot in terms of shooting. He should have gone for the far post instead of going for the near post. And I think if that's Lewandowski or something like that, we're playing big, you might get punished in those chances. Obviously I know we had our chances and Mane missed simple chances, but it's just I think there's stuff that we need to iron out before we get carried away.
I completely agree. I think there's definitely a lot to unpack with this game, with this match. I think Chris Welch, he has a good point here. A tough team to face, back-to-back wins while moving to the international break, moving to the next game up the Reds. I mean, a good win. Have 2 wins now going into the international break. Our next game isn't until April 3rd against Arsenal. And good news for us is that we're going to be holding back a lot of our guys from going on international break, which is definitely good for us. But I think you're absolutely right. I think there's an overwhelming a lot of positivity coming from Reds fans after this match. And listen, no problem with that. We should definitely be happy finally starting to get some points on the board and be in a dangerous position for the closing stretch here of games. But I think you're absolutely right. I think even if Wolves had Jimenez, I don't know if we'd be having the same conversation right now, because the thing that was just screaming out to me was that if they had a better number 9, if Wolves had a better number 9, I don't know if this game would have gone the exact same. But props to Trent, because I thought he did absolutely fantastic defensively against Neto, and he's having a hell of a season defensively. But Traore offers nothing but pace, and he just crosses the ball inaccurately all the time. But he's not really dangerous shooting the ball or anything. I think if they had a guy like Jimenez, that would have been a better test. But there's even at times when Traore got in the middle, and even when Neto got in the middle, that Kabak and Phillips, they did have a hell of a game, but there was a couple times when the pace was a problem. That being said, Kabak's pace saved us a couple different times, but I'm still interested to see how they play against their first real test, 100%. But then also in the first half, I was very disappointed with how we came out. I thought our midfield was going to be able to put in a better performance than they did, but I thought that they were kind of invisible, to be honest with you. I didn't think they did too much, and I thought, like you said, Moutinho, Dendocker, Ruben Neves, they had their way at times, and I was really surprised that Fabinho and Thiago did not have, and even Gini Wijnaldum at times too, didn't have the impact that I was fully expecting them to have. But then when I also think about the goal we scored, pretty soft goal for Jota. I thought Patricio should have saved that. But one thing I loved was the ball movement. Mane to Mo, back to Mane to Jota, all took 4 touches. That was it. Boom, 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 bang. That was it. So that was good to see. And I thought the movement from the front three was a little bit better. What did you think about the front three's performance today?
Just to point off, first of all, I want to clarify what Sophie's saying. I'm saying the top 4 is open, but I'm saying don't get carried away from our performance overall tonight. There's a difference. The door's open for top 4, but that's performance tonight. It's nothing I'll get over carried away with and start saying, we played amazing. Like I've seen some Reds saying, or that it was like world class from Kabak and Phillips, because they weren't tested tonight again, really overall. But I think in terms of forward line, I thought Mane played well, but I'm just still concerned of his finishing. It's really bad. And you'd expect it after him scoring against Leipzig, they'd have more confidence in goal, and it's still concerning, how bad his finishing is, regardless although he played well today, regardless of it. And I thought obviously Jota looked more sharper, looked fresh, which was good. I thought Salah, I thought Salah was a bit hit and miss tonight. I don't think he was amazing tonight, Salah. I thought there were times where I think his decision making could have been a bit better with the ball.
Yeah, I think the front three, I completely agree. I think the front three is, Jota looked fresh. Mane looked good outside of his finishing. But yeah, I think there's still a little bit of a disconnect there, but also there's still a little bit of disconnect in the midfield. And I think all of it goes hand in hand. Hopefully this international break, being able to keep guys here. I know we have Trent's going to be going, Thiago's going to be going. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we could just really, get some training in, get the guys together. Now that we're definitely going to be playing Fabinho and center mid going forward, give these guys a couple weeks to practice, get the legs back underneath them, and really go hard for this push. And hopefully that will make a difference. But kind of getting into the chat here, New York Post guys, welcome. We love you guys. Thanks for coming on again. Can't wait to team up with you guys again. But yeah, Trent absolutely pocketed Neto today. Completely agree. I thought he looked absolutely fantastic. Garav, welcome back, man. He said Jota's fresh. Could use some more new attackers to replace Origi and Shaq. And that was actually something else I noted today as well, was that with Firmino injured, I was looking at our bench. Origi didn't make the bench. We literally had no striker to come on. The only guy we had was Ox. He did come in, play a false nine, actually looked decent when he was out there. But I think this game though perfectly highlighted the need, another need for us this offseason, and that is either another winger or a pure striker. We definitely need some sort of resistance. Some sort of assistance there, because if we go into next season only having what we have now, it's going to be a problem. It's definitely going to be a problem. If we were instead 1-0 going down, I wouldn't feel confident bringing on Ox. I know he played well. I wouldn't feel confident game in and game out, having to rely on Ox to change the pace on everything. Garav also brings up Daka. Yeah, I think Daka would be an ideal guy for us. He could definitely kill a game off. What did you think about that? Because I think it highlighted that need big time.
Yeah, I think that doesn't change anything. I think we know straight away we need another forward. We needed another forward. really in the summer, really. 'Cause I always said we needed 2 forwards. That Jota wasn't enough. And I think, like when I always compare, I know it's different, but I always compare us to Bayern. They've got like 6 forwards, and I think that's the kind of depth we need to have that kind of where you've got other good players that can come in. And it is a concern. Obviously, when you look at the bench, it's a concern the fact that we don't have anyone. And and obviously, like I said, Ox played well tonight when he came on. He did look sharp, but I wouldn't. We've seen overall Ox can't do that consistently. Play the 9. We've seen playing against when he has done that before and it's struggled. So I wouldn't say that he's like going to be a useful player to play as the 9. Ox is better obviously when he's in midfield with space to run. So that is a concern. Obviously, hopefully Origi's injury is not too bad and he's going to be available. Because he is an option off the bench. And obviously, I wouldn't. Shaq. Maybe obviously, I'm surprised he didn't trust Shaq tonight. So it is a concern, but it's something we have to address in the summer. We need to get someone that's realistic. Haaland's not realistic, Sophie. That's a pipe dream. So we need to get someone that is realistic that we can get. And I think Dakar, Jonathan David, those are kind of realistic signings that we can come in and do a job for us.
Yeah,
obviously I love Neto, but I don't think it's realistic.
Yeah, again, Neto. I mean, there's no way they're gonna give us their two best wingers in 1 year. But I will say that I agree with the Ox sentiment. Like he deserves all the credit for coming on and playing well today in the false 9. I mean, I think his substitution time today has warranted him some more minutes when the season kicks on, and I think that's going to be a determining factor. The rest of these games are going to be a determining factor if Ox has a future at this club or not. Because if he can carve out that super sub role, then Klopp will go with him. But he needs to prove that he can stay healthy and prove that he can be consistent, and he hasn't done either one yet, to be honest. But J-Doc makes a good point in that he thought the front 3 today were moving, which was a positive, and that was one of the highlights that I had. The 2 things that I had was have the front 3 be able to move and interchange with each other, and I think they did that. That was definitely a step in the right direction. But then the other thing I said was that we need to play with hunger and energy from the opening minute, and I think, again, it goes back to the midfield. I thought the midfield did not start the game well. I thought that there was a lot of – I think – like you kind of brought up, if you were playing a team with a better 9 and more lethal attack, I don't know if it would have been 1-0 Liverpool going into the first half. There was too many little opportunities, a header here, open shot there, where like it either went right to Alisson or Wolves just mishit it. And I just think a more clinical team could have caused problems. I know that's something that you talked about leading up in the pre-match. So like what did you think of Liverpool's open 20, 30 minutes of this game? Because for me, it did not do it for me.
I thought we looked shaky. I thought we looked really nervous. I thought in the first 10 minutes the defense looked shaky. And I thought, the pace of Traore and Neto was troubling us. And I thought also the midfield looked off the pace. Like I said like Fabinho didn't look, compared how he was against Leipzig, he didn't play like he did against Leipzig tonight. He wasn't that great tonight, Fabinho. And I thought as well with Virginia and Thiago, they did play as well. They did against Leipzig. They looked really good. Today they didn't look that great today, to be honest. I thought Thiago looked knackered, and he was right to just be subbed off. And I thought even Ginny looked knackered as well. So and I think playing them back to back probably was a reason. Maybe he should have like freshened up in midfield a bit more. So I was surprised for us to go unchanged lineup. I thought maybe one of Jones or Keita would have come in today and started. Just to keep it fresh. But I think that was a combination of it. Because obviously I think we have to understand as well, like Fabinho's only just come back from injury, so it's going to take him a while. And he's a slow starter when he comes back from an injury. So that's why I think he looked tired. I think obviously we know Ginny's played loads of games. Yeah. So there's obviously a lack of energy there at times. And then also Thiago, he's played a lot of games. And I don't think, since he came back from injury, he's played a lot of games. He's not really had any proper rests. So again, obviously that's going to catch up with us at times. Yeah. So that's why I felt he could have freshened the midfield up. And I think that's why in the first 20 minutes we looked shaky and we looked like Wolves were troubling us with their pace up top. And as you said, if Wolves just had a better number 9, better finishing, decision making in the last bit, then they probably could have got something more out of this game, because I think there was enough in there for them to kind of get in behind us and cause us problems. But like I said, I'm not going to take anything away from Kabak and Phillips. They did play well, and you can only play well. You can only play well in what you face, and they did play well. But I'm just saying, like, reservation is if we were to play a better team, would be concerned there, because I did, there was, we can't deny there was chances. I think there was, what do you call him? I was just looking at is Silva had at least 2 chances where he should have done better. And even the header one was a gilt-edged chance.
Yep.
If that's a better number 9, they bury that chance, because it was a free header, and he headed straight at Alisson. If that was a Kane or Lewandowski, one of those players, they bury that, and it's 1-1. And also the other one, Kabak did well to cover. I can't remember his name, who ran through and goal 1-on-1, but he didn't look confident at all when Kabak came back and took the ball off him.
Yeah, I don't know if that was. I forget who that was. I don't know if it was the William Jose, like the Jose guy, or if it was.
I think it was him. The one. It was the one that they subbed on.
Oh, that was Silva. They subbed on Silva.
No, the other guy. They subbed another guy on. He came on for Semedo.
Yeah, I got it right here. But anyway, he.
Yeah, I think when he ran through 1-on-1, he didn't look confident, and it allowed Kabak to come back in, which was a great coverage challenge from Kabak. But potentially, if that had maybe fallen to, I don't know, a Neto or a Traore, and they went through 1-on-1,
right,
could be a different story there. So, like I said, there was concern there, but I said overall you got to be happy with the 3 points, because we won kind of ugly in a way. So I'm going to take that, because obviously Wolves is still a tough place to go and get a victory. And obviously, like I said, I think Chris Welsh is right.
Yep,
we're lucky that Jimenez wasn't there, because if Jimenez was there, I think it's a different game.
I completely agree.
Not saying we'll win, but it's just a different game, and it causes a lot more trouble to us than because I think Wolves lack that focal point in the middle to really wrap it up. They lack that focal point, because even when they're putting crosses in, I don't know who they're crossing to, because there's no one really in there that was gonna really dominate us in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. And J-Doc makes a good point here that Traore's finishing in touches at U12 level. He'd be better as a sprinter. And, like, honestly, no doubt, there were so many times today where there was one point where he made Fabinho fall over and just completely fleeced him. And he had 2 guys at the back post, and I think it was Trent who was stuck covering 2 guys. All he had to do was play a decent cross in. And it blows my mind. He had all the time in the world and couldn't hit a cross. Like, I do not want to hear any more conversations about Liverpool potentially bringing in Traore, because he is the definition of a pace merchant. That's all he is. He brings nothing else to the table except loads and loads and loads of baby oil going on his arms. That's about all he brings to the table, in my opinion. But a couple other things in the chat here. Johnny Williams, I want to watch Wahomey and the Sophie duo. Sorry, I don't do it for you, buddy. I know they're awesome. They're an awesome dynamic duo, but I guess I'll just send them out here on out, Johnny. Sorry about that, man. Chris Welch, Kabak and Phillips were his main standouts tonight. I understand people point out Mane, but I thought they were sharp tonight. I thought he was sharp tonight, just wasted chances. Yeah, that's ultimately the thing is with Mane. The entire season, his last touches has failed him. There's been so many games when he has been the Mane that we know, except he's just missing that last touch. And I thought that after the pretty good goal that he scored against Leipzig, I thought he was going to get a little bit more, positivity and some confidence in his game. But I guess not.
I think it's Mane. I think he's down himself, because you can see how when he doesn't, he misses, how frustrated he gets. I think, I think the good thing today was his overall game was really good.
Yeah.
And I think in other games when he's missed chances, his overall game hasn't been that good. So you've been a bit frustrated because, it's not been. But today was actually good. The overall game was just the finishing. Like, if he can somehow get some confidence.
Do you feel like, though, he feels pressure with Salah, like, being the leading goal scorer, and just, like, do you think it's getting in his head that he's almost trying to force it too much to, like, stay competitive with Salah in the goal race, or do you think that's nothing?
I think it's more the case of he's never been in a situation when he's had this lack of goals or this kind of form.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know Southampton, but since he joined Liverpool, he's never had this kind of lack of form or drought or confidence, and lack of confidence in goal. So that's I think it's a new territory for Mane at Liverpool. I think that's probably gets the better of him, to saying, like, well, why is it not going in? Or why is it not kind of clicking? And so it's just something I don't know. Obviously we've got to kind of hopefully that he comes out of it and plays, or he can play it through, and something's going to click eventually. Because that's what we're missing. We're just missing that kind of click when at least two of the front three.
We're just missing the clinical piece. That's all we're missing.
Yeah, that's it.
Like today was the perfect example, and J-Doc makes a good point that like we just have to appreciate the effort that Jota puts in, pressing, running, determination, and it's so true. Like having a healthy Jota and the healthy usual front three, this is gonna make them all play out their games, because the moment you start slacking, the other guys are gonna start starting, and you're gonna have to come off the bench. And I think like that's why having a healthy Jota, and I think honestly today that Klopp nailed it with his substitution of him. He has to continue to kind of work him in. I thought he's been playing more and more every game, so now coming back from the international break, he needs to be the starter in there. Maybe have Firmino come off the bench, or maybe change formation a little bit, something like that. But he's definitely earned the starting spot, and somebody else is going to have to drop down the pecking order. And this is just going to make – I hope that this just lights a fire underneath the guys now, and that's the front three has to know. The moment I play bad, they're going to take me out and put somebody else in. So that's really, really what I'm hoping to see.
Well, I think you saw as well, like Jota, like obviously like how clinical he is. That chance. I think that's something we missed in like a lot when he was injured. That clinicalness. Where someone, he might not have that many chances today, like he did against Leipzig, but when he had this chance, he buried it. And when the score like just on the verge of half time was huge. That kind of obviously massively dented Wolves. Because to have gone in at that point, I think that's what we missed, and I think that's what Jota brings, that clinicalness. When he is sharp, he doesn't. I think like if you look at Salah and Mane, they probably need more chances to score a goal. Obviously Salah is a much better goal scorer than Jota overall, but I think like Jota sometimes needs fewer chances to score a goal. And I think that's can be the difference in terms of like he can be a bit more clinical with his chances, while Salah can need like 2 or 3 good chances to score a goal. So I think we missed that kind of like clinicalness, and hopefully, like you're saying, it can be a spur on for the rest of the forward line to then start bringing it up in the level, because obviously we've got some harder tests now. Arsenal after the international break is not going to be an easy game. That's going to be a big test for our defence, Arsenal, because they've got pace and they're more quick in the passing movement up top. So that's going to be a test to go to the Emirates and see, can we win there?
Yeah,
but we don't have a good record there anyhow. So that's going to be a much bigger test for Kabak and Phillips. Can say, can they deal with an Aubameyang, Lacazette, or Odegaard, Saka? Because they're more movement, one touch of movement. So that's going to be more of a test.
Yeah, I think the Arsenal game is going to be the first real test for the Kabak-Phillips partnership. I'm really interested to see how they do there. Julian, he thought that they were solid today, but Trent had another defensive masterclass, but goes under the radar because he plays for us. Big win. Yeah, I mean, I think Trent this season, people have been sleeping on how good he's been defensively. On this podcast, we spent a lot of time talking about him offensively and what he hasn't done, but I don't think you can ignore anymore what he's doing defensively, because Neto did next to nothing when he was anywhere near Trent. I thought Trent did an absolutely fantastic job. And if he can continue to deliver defensive performances like this, especially next year when we get a healthy Van Dijk back and healthy Gomez back and strengthen that back line a little bit more, I think then we're going to be able to see him get forwards more, and just no one's going to be talking about comparing him to other people, because if anyone says that Trent's not good defensively, they just haven't watched him at all this season, because he's been fantastic. He's just been passing every test for like the last 2 months here. I mean, what did you think of his performance today? Because we had Neto eyed as the guy to stop, and he nailed that with flying colors.
Yeah, I thought going forward, there were times I thought Trent was a bit sloppy in the first half, some of his passing. But I think defensively, he was really solid. I think there was a few times where there was one where the ball was kicked in, I think by Traore back in, and then Trent clicked it away. So he did there were quite a few times when he did some last ditch tackling and kind of saved us clearances. So I thought Trent was very good defensively today. I thought overall it's very difficult to play Neto, and he handled Neto quite well. He wasn't really beaten And there were a few times when he took the ball off Neto, who tried to dribble against him. So yeah, I thought Trent played very well defensively today. So you can't discredit him today defensively. I thought defensive wise wasn't his best game. Defensive wise, he was very solid, and like I said, most people would crumble up playing against Neto, but he did really well today. So and like I said, Trent's defensive wise has been one of the best right backs in the Premiership. He's had the most tackles, successful tackles. So he's actually been very good one-on-one. Yes, obviously he's had the odd time where he's fallen asleep at the odd set piece, but overall he's been very good defensively. So he's improved that much better. And I think someone also said on a different podcast we were on, Trent's only a kid still. Trent's only 21, but because of his amount of games he's played, we treat him as like he's a veteran. Like he's one of the more experienced players. And it's only because he's played so many games by the age of 21, but he's still a kid. And I think we need to understand that he's still a kid. He's still learning the game. He's well away from his prime, anywhere near reaching his prime level. So, this Trent at 21, think of Trent at 24, how good he's going to be at 24. So he's still learning, still adjusting. So I think we have to also take that into account when people are critical of Trent. He's still a kid.
Yeah, he's still going to put muscle on too, so he's going to get stronger. So I mean, like that's like another thing too, is that he can get pushed off the ball easily at times, but he can definitely. He's only going to get better defensively. He's not going to get any worse than what we've seen. But a couple things in the chat here, and I thought this was interesting from Julian. With Van Dijk out for the season, wouldn't it be ideal for Trent to advance forward into attacking opportunities? That's the lack of a six. I completely agree. And we've actually said it numerous times on this podcast that like maybe Klopp has mentioned the Trent to be more defensive without having the Gomez in there and the Van Dijk in there, just to have that extra cover. And then obviously the Henderson injury and having Fabinho at center back, like all those different things. So I definitely think that he has made an effort to be more defensive this year. A couple other things. Johnny Williams, if you lost today, I was Klopp out. This is a massive boost before the break. I agree with half of that. I think it was a massive boost before the break. Respectfully disagree about Klopp out. We welcome all thoughts and opinions on this show, but definitely don't think Klopp's going anywhere anytime soon, and nor should he. I think Klopp is this club, and I think he embraces exactly what this club stands for. But J-Doc here brings up a pretty good point. Jota just scored in his third start. Firmino couldn't do that in like 8 games. Firmino out in a better forward in. What are your thoughts on potentially having Firmino either move to the bench or just leaving the team in the summer?
I don't want Firmino leaving at all. So I think people are wrong when they say Firmino needs to be sold or leave. Because I disagree. I think Bobby's just more of a 10 now. And when Bobby has played a 10, he's played really well. It's just that he can't play the 9 anymore. This thing of Bobby being the system, of us basing it around Bobby that's changed now, because we've shown that Jota, Salah, Mane, we don't need Bobby to be the system, to be like the focal point in the middle, that stuff. We don't need that anymore. So, but what we can use Bobby is to be a 10, and I think he's very good as a 10. Go back to his Hoffenheim days when he played as a 10. That's his natural position. So I'd move Bobby back to then, but still, depending on the opposition, you can alternate. It allows us to rotate them more often. Because we've seen as well, we beat Leicester without Salah. We had Bobby, Jota, and Mane. We absolutely battered Leicester at Anfield without Salah. So we've seen that different combinations can work, and we can win games without each one of the front three, and we've shown that this season. So I would say that. Ideally, probably start games with Jota, Jota, Salah, Mane. But also it depends on the opposition we're playing. Because I think if we're playing like a big team where we can counter attack with pace, then yeah, I'd play Salah, Mane, and Jota. Because I think if we're playing, I don't think, for example, if we're playing a Dortmund or Bayern, as good as they are going forward, I don't think they are great defensively. So I think that'd be a great forward lineup, because they would catch them with pace. But we're playing a team where we might think, okay, we need to be a bit more conservative with the ball, keep the ball. Then it might be the case where you put Bobby in there as a 10, you play a 4-2-3-1, or you rotate one of the other ones, you put Bobby in there. So it's not, I disagree with selling Bobby, but I think Bobby would be an amazing 10 now. and I think that's where we should use him as a 10, or rotating the front three depending on the opposition we're facing.
Yeah, and I also just think moving him to the 10 will just relieve that pressure that he's probably feeling to score goals. And obviously, we know Bobby does defensively, and I think if especially next season, if we can move to a more of a 4-2-3-1 model when we have all the right pieces, which we will have next year to do that, I think that's when we'll start seeing the best of Bobby again, because what is he good at? He's good at winning the ball back defensively, cutting out passing lanes, and connecting with the forwards. And to Chris Stewart's point here, thanks for joining, Chris. Team actually pressed Wolves back four really well with Jota and the team. We definitely not had that since he's been out. And yeah, I mean, that's again, just goes back to the freshness and what Jota brings. He is really a perfect guy for this team because he has that work ethic. He's willing to sacrifice. He's willing to bust his butt. And that's exactly what this team needs. And that's when we were playing our best football. That's exactly what we were doing. Sophie, can you stop making me agree with you, homie? That's funny. But she brings up a good point here. If Bobby drops into a 10, then that makes the midfield combination more difficult. Who does drop? If Genie goes, midfield is Fab, Thiago, Naby / Jones. Where would Bobby fit? Yeah, I mean, a good question, but I think that's what having a good football team, a world-class football team is about, is you need to have depth in a lot of positions, and there should be an absolute fight to get into the starting 11. Like we saw Gundogan at the beginning of the season, wasn't even sniffing time for Man City, and then he gets an opportunity, he's made the most of it. Now he's an option for, team of the season probably. And I think that's what you need, is you need to have that depth, and you need the guys battling for a spot game in, game out. And maybe that's part of the issues that we've seen this season as well, is that a lot of guys kind of knew what their role was in the team, know what position that they were going to play, knew how many minutes that they were going to get, because our starting line was so world class. So I think Bobby will still have a role. Will he play as much? Maybe not. But that's what having a good football team is all about.
I think sometimes having a small squad's counter against us, because it's certain players get comfortable, get complacent, and there's no challenge. I think if you had a bit more competition in there, then certain players would know, if I'm crap today, then I'm not going to start the next game. But certain players have got away with knowing, okay, it doesn't matter if I start well or not, I'm going to start the next game. So it doesn't, there's no challenge. I think obviously if you see like Jota, he's made the other ones have to up their game because they know they're not guaranteed to start. And I think obviously certain players could do that. Obviously, I think definitely like Trent needs some competition. I think, I'll send about some competition, and I think we could do one extra forward just a competition to just give the others a kick up the backside and say, look, if you're not playing well, you're going to be on the bench. So I think that's probably what's counting against us. So we need that bigger squad, and it's what you want. You want to have a big squad to have different options. And that's what helps you go deeper in competitions.
Yeah, I completely agree. And a couple points here in the chat. Gaurav wants Naby to start. He loves him. Yeah, I think Naby's time's coming. I think it's coming. And I actually really like how Klopp's handled him so far since coming back from injury. Seems like anytime he came back from injury, we tried to thrust him right into the starting lineup again, and he was getting hurt. So this was a really good thing for him, I think, is getting a few more minutes again this match. Now we go in 2 full weeks off until we play Arsenal. So then, again, more time for him to build up his fitness and get to where he needs to be. And I don't think that this is – I saw somebody tweet out that potentially that this spells the end of Naby because he's not playing. I think it's the exact opposite. I think we're trying to – build up his fitness, give him confidence that he's not going to get hurt every time he walks out there. Because I think again today he showed flashes again today of the type of player that we thought we were getting when we brought him in. Like he had that one unbelievable turn when we were under pressure. That was absolutely world class. That was so filthy. So I definitely will get some time as long as he stays healthy. He'll get there.
Yeah, I agree with you that. I think as well. I think like our issue in the past was, like you said, was rushing Naby back constantly. I remember in like the Champions League game against Barcelona where we rushed him back. He got injured against Barcelona early, and then he went off. So like we've been guilty of doing that too many times. We rush Naby back, and probably I think all through Klopp, I heard obviously like other people say it, like doesn't want to give up on Naby, in terms of his skill set and knowing that if you can harness what Naby has, then he's got a player in them. So I think, if, for example, Junior does go, and I know the rumours that he's verbally agreed, but obviously we need something concrete before we can take gossip as gospel. But if he does go, then obviously he's going to look to someone like Keita to kind of step up. So, it's going to be one of the things where we have to manage his game time, because otherwise we're going to need him for later on. And like we said, like again when he came on, he looked sharp. He was unlucky where he did create that good chance when he did that turn and ran out the pitch and created a good chance there. And just we're going to need him later on in the season. So if we can't have him being injured again, I think that's why they take next precaution with him, because otherwise we know how frustrating it is for all of us. If Naby gets injured, all of us or Naby again, God, why is he always injured? So we're just trying to manage him.
Yeah, and when you think about too the 9 games that we have left in the Premier League, so we have Arsenal, Villa, Leeds, Newcastle, Man United, Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, and Crystal Palace. There's about 4 or 5 games there where we're going to need a healthy Naby Keita to break down the low block, and that's the most important thing to me, is that these next 9 games we need Naby healthy for all of those games, whether it's to start or come off the bench and provide a spark. Because if we lose him, we could be facing that same problem that we always face against the low block. So I think it's more a reflection of that, in my opinion, than it is anything else. But to get to some of the things in the chat here, J-Doc, he wants to see Elliott come back in the team next season, even if it's just as a backup role. I think Sophie's point is spot on. This is kind of what I think, is that wonderful potential. He's done brilliant in the championship, but there's a big step between there and us. Another season on loan to a mid-league Prem club, in my opinion. And I completely agree with that. I mean, perfect example is looking at a guy like Reem Brewster. He tore it up in the championship last year and can't even really get time for Sheffield. And I know there's a number of things that go into that with Sheffield, like doesn't really fit their style of play and that sort of everything. But you don't spend $20 million on a striker and not play him at all. So I would just hesitate on that. I think it's more important that Elliott gets time and minutes in the Premier League and gets starters minutes for a Premier League club. And he's not going to get that with Liverpool. He's still only 17, 18 years old. So that's the more important thing with me. Chris Stewart, actually, no, Chris Welch here. Good point. No one's taken. We're the only team since Wolves have come back in the Premier League that Wolves hasn't been able to take points off of. Definitely an impressive stat there. Chris Stewart agrees with you, a homie, that Man City have a big team and they rotate players in and out. It's okay having world-class starting 11, but when you get injuries, it's difficult. 100%. It's all about the squad.
I agree. I think it is. I think, obviously we need that in terms of if we want to go far in the competition, because we don't want to be in a situation, obviously, where you've got, so many players injured and it hurts us. So, obviously, I think, obviously that's what Klopp's probably doing, is thinking like, we're coming to the final end of the season. So, we want to make sure that, he's keeping Ox, Keita, those players kind of fresh and give them minutes where they need, because so they're all going to be needed. Even like if Ox can show something like he did tonight in a game when he comes off, that's going to be like a big bonus for us. To have that option off the bench will be huge. You never know in a game in the Champions League or one of those, you bring them off the bench, they change the game. They offer you something different. So I think it's going to be key to keep them fit. So we've got to manage the minutes and ensure that, especially those players, because they get injured so many times.
Yep. Completely agree. J-Doc, he now says, Elliott would be good to go to Leeds. Leeds is the team that we identified too, potentially a good fit. Team like Leeds, if he could somehow get into Southampton, that'd be a great fit for him. I think for me, like the worst team I'd want to see him go to would be a team like Brighton, because I still think Brighton plays good football. Or if Norwich comes up, he'd be a good fit for Norwich as well, just with how no matter who they play their style of football, and I think that'd be huge for a guy like Elliott. But then Gaurav here brings up a good point. If Genie goes, do you think Florian Neuhaus is a good upgrade? I haven't seen too much of him other than some YouTube clips and like reading his profile, but he does seem to kind of be another good all-around player that can add a little bit more creativity to this team as well, which I think is something that we can all agree we desperately need. And I don't think he'd cost too much for us either, coming from the Bundesliga. So he could be that type of profile player that we would need. What do you think on that, homie?
Yeah, he's a good player, and he is a really good all-round player. So he would be a good player to get. And I don't think you're right. He wouldn't cost that much because of he's at much in black, so he wouldn't cost that much there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he would be like a good player to get as a target. But I agree with Chris Welsh. Like, you know, as I've said countless times, my one is Awar, you know, and I think like
you've been talking about him since September, man.
You know, because like we followed him for so many years. You know, even when Foucault got injured, we asked about Awar, but we told no then, and we followed him for so many years. You know, that we wanted him, but we're never in the position to really buy him properly. But we've tracked him, and it's been reported by, you know, Melissa Reddy, Neil Jones that we love a while. You know, we really rate him, and stuff. So I think I just love him, and I expect the fact that he was needed to go to Arsenal in this past summer shows that we should go over him. We can't allow a team like Arsenal to get him because, you know, he looked so good at Liverpool under Klopp. Klopp was a massive fan of him as well. He looked so good at Liverpool, you know, because he's the player that we should be getting. To be honest, you know, so you know, I'd love to see him at Liverpool.
Another young guy too. He'd be a great fit for us. You know, everyone in the chat, we appreciate you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. Just helps more Liverpool fans see this channel and interact with us, and we definitely appreciate that to keep getting on the big guests. But J Doc here again. You gotta give it to Phillips. He puts everything into every game. That's why he's his prince. Yeah. When I think of Phillips, I think of that Simpsons meme of the kid just diving headfirst through the glass. I picture Phillips like that. He automatically just wins every header, and he actually came out with comments that he like takes offense when he loses a header, and I absolutely love that. And I think he I guess we have 2 years left on his contract. Like, good for him. I think if he's comfortable not playing a ton of minutes this year, I think he's earned you know, fourth, fifth option as our center back, maybe fifth option center back. But I think he's definitely earned that. He's definitely proved that he can be valuable. And if he doesn't want that, he's gonna make us a pretty penny in the offseason. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously, like I said, I'm not gonna, you know, we have to give credit to Phillips that he has played well when he has played, you know, when he's been called upon, and he has, you know, he's a no nonsense. He's one of those Sunday League players that just puts his foot through the ball, puts his head in line. He reminds me of like a Martin Skrtel type player. So you can't fault him. Like, you know, he might lack the passing kind of quality, because there was a time where he passed the ball to no one, and Troy ran through and goal and did like a poor shot. Mm-hmm. So there was obviously where you think, okay, his passing a bit questionable, but you know, you can't fault his effort and like the fact that, you know, he did play well. Even though, again, I'd feel like overall he really wasn't tested fully tonight, but he did play well, so you can't fault him for that. So, you know, if we were going to keep Phillips as a fourth centre back, probably wouldn't, or Kabak, then I probably wouldn't say no to that. Really, fourth or fifth, I wouldn't say no to it.
Well, more than likely they're going to start with Van Dijk if they do play. You know what I mean? Or it'd be a cup game if they don't start with Van Dijk. So, but continue.
Yeah, no, I did hear someone saying that Phillips wants first in football, and that that someone, I think I saw someone saying that Liverpool would be open if the right offer came in this summer.
What would be the right offer for you?
15, 20 million?
Yeah, I would say 20. I think how he's played this year, we can definitely get 20.
Yeah, I think he's done enough to warrant that kind of fee, and to be shown that he's good enough for a Brighton, a Burnley. He's good enough for one of those teams to play for them. Mm-hmm. Palace, he's good enough for one of those teams. So I think you can get that, and plus he's British too. So that's also a bonus for people who are trying to compete with the homegrown quota. So, or but you know, we'll see what happens with him. But that's what I heard, that they would be that I read, but I'm not sure that was 100%. But that's what I did see that.
Yeah. Agreed. No, Sophie brought up a good point here. You know, we have Taki coming back next season. Julian doesn't think that he's going to be sticking around. But
I have to agree with Julian.
Yeah, you think quick turnaround, he'll be gone, maybe even going back to Southampton, you think, on a permanent, something like that?
What is it? I'm just thinking, how many players do you see go on loan and then come back and start for Liverpool?
Good point. Hasn't really happened. Hasn't happened. From what I can remember, it hasn't really happened.
So that's what I'm feeling like. Unless you're a kid, like a youngster, then majority of the time when you go on loan, it's not for you to come back. I mean, it might prove me wrong, but I'm in the camp of one of those people that thinks that he's probably not going to come back, and I think Southampton will probably go for him. We'll try to strike a deal with us for him because he had played well for Southampton. So I think they will try to go for him. I think if we get a decent offer for him, like 15, 20 million for him, then I don't see Liverpool turning that down.
Yeah, I mean, Minamino was loaned out for reasons Southampton is his level. Could be, that could be the case. We'll see. Definitely could be the case. But Johnny Williams think that Origi is going to be good. I think Origi is definitely gone next year. If he's not, then I just don't understand what the hell is happening. We should have sold him after we won the Champions League. Should have sold him at the end of last year. So I think by the time we do sell him, probably won't make a profit on Origi at this point. But
to answer Sophie's comment, why would, if that was the case, why didn't they put a buyback? Because the reason they put a buyback is because they don't want to agree a set price with Southampton. If Minamino does really well there and they've only agreed like a set price of 15 million, then we've undersold him. So we want to be in a position to say, look, he's played well for you. You want him, we're charging you 25 million. No, there's not a set price because also you got to think as well. There's going to be other clubs that are after him, so we don't want to give a set price to Southampton when he's highly rated in Germany. There's loads of teams in Germany who want him, and there's going to be other clubs in England that are after him as well, other than Southampton. So it might not be the case where you sell Southampton, but someone else thinks, oh, I like Minamino, I'm going to go for him because he'll get loads of takes in Germany. Loads of teams will want him. So that's why they didn't put a buyback clause on him.
Yeah, I think you're right on that regard. Don't sell yourself short and do the buyback clause on there. I don't think that's right, or the option to buy anything like that. Johnny Williams thinks that we need to spend big this year, have quality on the bench. I agree. I think this is the time. We've now gone 2 or 3 summer transfer windows removed from winning the Champions League and haven't done shit with it. Or I think it's 2, but yeah, it's time. I think it's clear, especially if Genie leaves. I think it's time to get rid of some guys. And AK brings up a good question. What Liverpool player do you think is most likely to leave this summer? So if I had to pick one player, I would probably say a guy like Shaqiri is probably my number one option. They'd probably leave or Divock Origi. I think those two, their times are probably done. Oxlade-Chamberlain could be in that conversation. Genie, obviously, if he doesn't re-sign, he could be gone. So it's interesting to see there who would be gone. But I think you also have to remember too that we have a lot of guys out on loan who could impact our summer transfer window. Like if we can get a good wage for Marco Grujic, that's going to help us a lot. Wilson is actually playing pretty well in the championship, so maybe we can get a decent fee for him as well. I think is Ojo still out on loan as well? Like that's another guy we might be able to get.
Yeah, I think my concern is last summer we tried obviously to get 20 million for Wilson, Grujic. We also tried to get 25 million for Shaq. We tried 35 million for Origi. My concern is this summer is that their valuation is going to be reduced big time now. Because I don't think Grujic has been that amazing on loan.
No.
Wilson's been probably okay. No, he's not really set like the house on fire on loan. Shaq struggled in our team, in terms of, and Origi's not really done anything. So for the pass he did against Leipzig, he's not really done anything. So it's going to be hard pressed to then command those kind of fees or ask for those kind of fees. So you're going to be selling them on a reduced rate. So you're probably looking maybe now 10, 50 million for Grujic or Wilson. Especially during COVID. So it's going to be much more harder to shift them on for a decent value and get a good fee for them. So, Edwards is going to have to pull a masterclass off. He's going to have to pull out his book when he got 20 million for Solanke kind of book out and do like wheeling dealing. and get them out, because it's going to be much more difficult to get rid of these guys now.
Well, I think this summer window is going to be really interesting because of COVID, obviously this year, but it seems all signs are pointing to having fans in the stands like full capacity to start next season. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what teams take a risk, take a flyer, spend the extra money this summer, knowing that they're going to be able to get recouped a little bit next year with next season having fans in the stands. So that's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be an interesting story to see who spends the money and who doesn't. And that's why I'm really hoping that Liverpool is a team that spends money. But Chris Welch here, this is his list of people who are going to leave: Matip, Chamberlain, Shaqiri, Minamino, Origi. I think 5 names, definitely. All those guys could be seeing their way out.
You have to agree with Sophie here.
Thiago Alcantara, I think he made a mistake joining Liverpool. I think there's a 0% chance that Thiago leaves this offseason.
I'll tell you that is, obviously, all opinions are welcome here, but I think you have to put like in mitigating circumstances. We've had most of our key players injured this season. Obviously that no fans has obviously disrupted us. We've had to change formation so many different times this season. That all plays a part. We've had to play Thiago out of position. So I think he's probably understanding that, if Liverpool didn't have the many injuries, Liverpool would be further up the table, and we would be with a different position right now. So, like Sophie says, like next season, when we've got Van Dijk, Gomez, we add to the squad, we'll be different. There's fans in the stadium again. We'll be different proposition again, and also as well, like Thiago's had to play a lot of games than he didn't need to, purely because of the injuries, and purely because we've and also had to play our position to help the team out. We've had to play the defensive 6 to help the team out because there's no one else to play. So because Milner was injured, there's Hendo injured. So what can you do? So obviously would have loved to see Thiago to play more further forward or even play at a better level, because there are times when he hasn't played as good. But you have to put that in context. Soon again today, like tonight, he's played a lot of games. To play back-to-back games after putting a shift against Leipzig, and he's, like I said, he's not had a rest since he came out of injury. It's going to catch up with him. So it's only natural tonight it wasn't his best. But we saw in the Leipzig game when he's on his form in the Champions League how class it was. And I think probably until we get our full squad in next season, I think you're going to see more better Thiago performances in the Champions League than in the Premiership, purely because the Champions League is going to suit his game more.
Yep. 100%. And I also think that we're going to change formations next year. I think we're going to move to a 4-2-3-1. Putting my foot down, I thought we were going to do it this year, but all the injuries, we couldn't do it. I think next year is going to be the year we go to a 4-2-3-1, and that's when we're going to see the best of Thiago. But before we wrap up here, a couple things I wanted to get to. Julian here, which center back would you go for in the summer if we were to keep Kabak and sign somebody else? I think the perfect type of guy would be a Kaleta, just because he checks a lot of boxes. He has top flight experience. He's very well-rounded in his game. And I just think when you think about good partnerships with Van Dijk, I think that's a kind of like an ideal scenario. And if Van Dijk were to go down, Kaleta is a guy that you can rely on to not get injured. And he's probably more of a deputy than Joe Gomez is, in my opinion, just because Joe Gomez gets injured too much. But who would your ideal center-back partnership be if you can go get somebody?
Sepp Botman.
Sven.
Because I think
he's good.
Lille have like the best defensive record in the Premiership. In Europe right now, in terms of goals conceded. They've been phenomenal. Botman's got everything you want in a centre. I love Kaleta, and I think Botman's got everything you want in a centre back. And he's Dutch. He's going to have that Dutch synergy with Van Dijk.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they play at international level, that's going to only enhance their partnership because they're going to play so much together. I'd love him. Not up in the calm though. He's gone down in estimation for me. So no, thank you. I don't want Konate because I saw.
Too many mistakes.
Yeah, but even I saw Palmer for the Mirror saying that we want Konate, and I think Konate's just too injured. I wouldn't want him because I think why is he a great centre back?
I know.
Yeah, why is a great centre back? As you said, is Matt 2.0, so I wouldn't want him. So I'd want either Botman or Kaleta, or maybe even Koundé from even getting from Villarreal, but I think he'd probably be difficult to get. and the fee's going to be too high. No, for Valencia, I think it is. So there are centre backs out there, so that Liverpool can get to bring in this summer. So we have to get someone this summer that's good. Because I think we also understand like how good is Joe Gomez going to be when he comes back in terms of his fitness, because his knee blew up.
Yeah.
So it's going to take him a while to get back to a good level. How much he can take off him. Even with Virgil, like how much is he going to take off him in terms of that injury? You saw that big scar on his knee. It's might take a shade of pace. He might be a bit more self-conscious now, because you've seen how Ox is in terms of tackling. He's a bit more conscious because of his knee. So that's going to play into a part. Because I think we also have to remember the psychological impact of that in injury like that. It's going to play in your mind as well. So obviously Van Dijk's like a warrior. So, he's very strong-minded, but I think that's going to play into it. So I think we have to be a bit mindful of the fact that, one of them might struggle still a bit when they come back. Paul or Gomez. And that's going to be a massive impact, thinking for us.
Yeah, I mean, you said it all right there, spot on. And I think that's why I want a guy like Caleta-Car to come in, just because I just think he's a guy that you can. I think he seems like a guy that you can lean on, and Botman's very similar in that, but I just feel like if Gomez and Van Dijk were to go down again, which I don't think would happen, like I'd be very comfortable with having Caleta-Car as our number one guy. And I think Botman kind of falls in that category too, but we needed.
Still, I think Steve is frozen. So I'll just continue because you're back.
Yeah, sorry
about
that. No, I just said the thing I like about Caleta-Car and Botman, like their profiles, is because I think if I don't think Van Dijk and Gomez would have injuries like they did this season again, but I just think that if something were to happen, I'm very comfortable with either one of those guys being a number one option, and I think that's kind of just like that's what we're lacking right now. Is that Gomez is good enough, but can you rely on him? I don't know. Matip, is he good enough? Yes. Can you rely on him? I don't know. Is Fabinho good enough? Yes, but do you want to play him in the midfield? Yes. So I just think that you really need a guy of Caleta-Car or Botman's profile just to put everyone at ease. And then again, you'll have a guy like Kabak or Phillips to fill in that void behind them as well. And I just think that's when you start looking at a very solid defensive lineup. But I think this is actually a perfect transition to where I want to touch on before we wrap up. Like, why did we sign Mikas? Because I thought today would have been a great time for him to play, because Robertson has been great for us this season. But I think even today, he wasn't up to his normal standard, in my opinion. And he needs a spell. He needs, and this international break, I think, is coming at a good time for him. But and then when we come back, we have 9 games left. It's going to be hard for Tsimikas to get time there. Like, what do you think about that? Like, do you think we should have tried to spell Robertson more during the stretch, or we had to rely on them because of the injuries?
I think the injuries, and I think the reason why he didn't play Tsimikas today, because I think he's just come out of injury. And I know, obviously, when at Olympiacos, he pocketed Traore last year, but I think it was probably a big ask to throw him in today against Traore. Because even Robbo, there were times when in that first half when he was a bit shaky with Traore because of his pace. He got into as the game went on, he got better at it and he started stopping Traore. But beginning, he was a bit shaky. So I think it's obviously maybe it was a case of like, if I put Tsimikas in, he's working his way back from an injury. So I think that's why maybe he didn't play him today. But obviously, I agree with you now. It's now fitting in. I don't think Tsimikas will play against Arsenal.
No.
It's probably after that game he could play him. So you rest him after the quarterfinal game. You give him a rest and you rob a rest and you play Tsimikas. So I think there will be games he can play him because, I think, Robert is going to need a breather, and there will be easier games that he can put in Tsimikas in, and he can get a run of games in. But I think Klopp's probably in a position now where he had to play Robert today, and he's going to have to play Robert against Arsenal because we're playing too good to teams where he's and it's a big risk to put someone who's just come off an injury straight away in there. I think that's it. So it's one of the things where it's a rock bottom and a hard stone.
Yeah, exactly, John. I agree, man. I need faster Wi-Fi. Get the cheap shit. It doesn't always work. But all right, to wrap up here, let's get a your man of the match today. Who was your man of the match for the match today?
Man of the match. Well, I'll probably give it to Kabak. I do think, although like I said before, I don't think he was tested, but what he faced, he did very well. So I think he looked very good today. So I'd give it's tough between him and Phillips again, but he looked very good. Otherwise, I also think Alisson, as an undercard between Phillips and Kabak, played really well again tonight. So and he gets sleeps on Alisson, but he's making a big save, at least 2 big saves every game.
True. No, man, he stepped up. He stepped up the last couple of games, made some massive saves that have kept the momentum in our favor for both matches. But for me, I'm not going to ignore it. Trent Alexander-Arnold, man of the match, simply because he absolutely pocketed Neto. I think he absolutely deserves the recognition. He is the best right back in the league. Don't forget it. He is. It's not going to change anytime soon. So he's my man of the match. Much needed 3 points on the verge of a winning streak. Massive game against Arsenal. We win against Arsenal. We have a very favorable schedule here on out. So hopefully we can go get it done. But everyone in the chat, we appreciate you guys. This was an awesome episode. You guys were on fire as always. Even though it's the international break, we're still going to be delivering some specials. We've got some awesome stuff coming with some more collaborations and some different little fun specials that we're going to do. So keep an eye out for those announcements coming probably tomorrow. We'll announce everything that we're going to be doing in the dates. So keep an eye on our Twitter. If you haven't
Wednesday's going to be good.
Yeah, Wednesday is going to be fun. You guys are going to like Wednesday. Definitely bring your opinions to that. We'll announce it tomorrow what we're doing. If you haven't yet, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe on the channel to help more Liverpool fans see this. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter if you haven't yet. But otherwise, massive 3 points, 6 points, sitting in 6th place, 5 points out of 4th. Let's go get it. Up the Reds, and we'll see you guys next time.
Up the Reds.